Happy Wednesday. This is Dorcas Wanganga once again, continuing with lesson 11 that talks about hope for worldlings outside. And today we are going to be talking about nurturing an opportunity. We have the first question, which is asking about persecution, because we see that after the death of Stephen, the church was, it was being persecuted. And so they scattered abroad. They scattered in so many areas. And so the question is being asked, so as a result of the scattering from the persecution, how did the church expand to Mediterranean islands and north of Judea? So we see in Acts 11, verse 19 to 21, is talking about this. But in Acts 11:21, it says, "And the hand of the Lord was with them, and a great number of believed and turned unto the Lord." So the fact that they were able to live and scatter and continue sharing the gospel, actually the persecution is what helped the gospel to spread more and to be shared more, and the church even grew even more during this time. And in question B, it's asking which city was an especially fertile field for the gospel, what plan was made to develop it more fully, and why. So we find in Acts 11, verse 22 to 26, it's talking about the city of Antioch. So in verse 22, it says, "The tidings of these things came unto the ears of the church which was in Jerusalem, and they sent forth Barnabas that he should go as far as Antioch." So when they heard in Jerusalem, they heard how the church was growing, how people were really accepting the gospel of Jesus Christ. They sent Barnabas to Antioch. So Antioch was the metropolis of Syria, and he was supposed to help the church there. So he labored there with great success, and as the work increased, he solicited and obtained the help of Paul. And the two disciples labored together in that city for a year, teaching the people and adding to the number of the church of Christ. So more people grew in Antioch. But why was this place selected? We see here in Acts 11, verse 22 to 26. It's still talking about why, it's talking about, we are going to be learning about how Antioch was like. And in the paragraph we see in the story of redemption, it says, "Antioch had both a large Jewish and Gentile population. It was a great resort for lovers to ease and pleasure because of the healthfulness of its situation, its beautiful scenery, and the wealth, culture, and the refinement that centered there. Its extensive commerce made it a place of great importance where people of all nationalities were found. It was therefore a city of luxury and vice." So there was a lot of vice in Antioch, and so they chose that city. And it was large because a lot of people used to travel there. So, and it had, people of all nationalities. Those were Jews and non-Jews alike. So they were all in that area. So what distinguished this church of Antioch? So what happened as they continued to teach in this church, we see that the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. In the paragraph, it says, "It was here that the disciples were first called Christians, and their name was given them because Christ was the main theme of their preaching, teaching, and conversation. They were continually recounting the incidences of his life during the time in which his disciples were blessed with his personal company. They dwelt untiringly upon his teachings, his miracles of healing the sick, casting out devils, and raising the dead to life. With quivering lips and tearful eyes, they spoke of his agony in the garden, his betrayal, trial, and execution, the forbearance and humility with which he endured the contumely and torture imposed upon him by his enemies, and the godlike pity with which he prayed for those who persecuted him. His resurrection and ascension and his work in heaven as a mediator for fallen man were joyful topics with them. The heathen might as well call them Christians." Because that's all they spoke about. They spoke about the life of Christ and all that the Lord had done, and about his death and his resurrection. So they couldn't, it seems that all they talked about was Christ, 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 Christ. and so they were called Christians. And so that was it's a beautiful name. Being a Christian, you're being associated with Christ, and that's really a continuation of how the apostles were continuing to nurture, and they nurtured an opportunity. In Antioch, it was an opportunity that they nurtured, and they became known as Christians in Antioch. So thank you for being with me today, Wednesday, and I hope to see you tomorrow to continue with Thursday's topic.